Okay, so as you can see, our 888 Corsa restoration is now moving on nicely, and we've started to put the loom and the clocks and the airbox and various bits on, and the exhaust system since we last looked at it. But I thought this was a real good opportunity to take a look at the differences between a Corsa 888 and a road bike, because there are quite a few subtle little changes that that you can spot and allow you to identify a genuine bike or not. And so while we've got the bodywork off, I thought this was a good example to look. Some of the big obvious things: this is a Corsa Radiator, and as you can see, it's curved and it's got no fan brackets on it. Earlier road going bikes had a straight radiator, and obviously they had a fan mounted on there too, so that's a nice easy one to spot quite quickly. Some little changes: that the forks, the part number on the bottom down here, the road going bike, the part number was 9050. On the race bikes like this, the part number is 9030. So tiny little letters stamped in the bottom of the fork leg there. It's just a nice little thing to be able to look at and see if you have a genuine machine or not. One thing that is really quite interesting to look at is the swinging arm. Now, a road going bike has an overall length of 58 centimetres. The Corsa bike has an overall length of 60 centimetres. So it's 20 mil longer. Also, the rear axle is a different size. Now, it's quite common to see people have put the big axle into a shorter swinging arm. So at a first glance, it looks like a Corsa swing arm, but actually it's been modified. Now, the genuine Corsa axle is actually 23 millimetres, and a lot of the faked ones have got a 25 millimetre axle because they've taken it out of a later sort of ST2 or ST4, something like that. Up the back here, obviously you've got the subframe, and it's got the mount for the Öhlins reservoir at the top there. There's a little ear that pops up on the side that holds the reservoir, and that's something that you'll only find on a Corsa rear subframe and not on a road subframe. I'm just going to grab the camera now and try and show you a couple of other little bits too, because really interestingly, down in the inside here is where the frame meets the engine. On a Corsa bike, they're actually wasted away. I don't know if you can see that. On a road frame, they're straight, and you can maybe see it on the other side of the frame here better. That little bit there, they've machined away the metal before they've built the frame. And obviously you couldn't do that on a road bike. You couldn't sort of do that afterwards and then put it together. So it has to be done before the frame's built. And that's one way of spotting if you've got a Corsa frame quite easily, because they just waste away the little bobbins and take off those few grams of weight, which make all the difference, of course. And equally up the front, behind the clock mount there in the frame, the bobbins on the front are wasted away too. Can't really see it now because we've got the carbon cover over, but those little bobbins up there are also wasted. Equally, you've got the crossbar here on the later bikes. This is a 91. This crossbar is detachable to allow you to get the airbox in and out, and various bits like that. Obviously, the ECU's front mounted on these, as opposed to being under the seat like on the road bikes, and so that's a very easy thing to spot too. And obviously the magnesium parts and bits and bobs like that are a big one. The clock as well. This is a genuine Corsa clock. You can see the red lines at 11, and it's a slightly different layout to a road clock. So that's another nice easy one to spot. Magnesium yokes, of course, weren't actually a factory part. They had standard yokes on most of the bikes as they left Ducati, but most people upgraded them to the magnesium yokes, and then of course you've got the magnesium covers on the motor and things like that. So just nice little bits that if you look around and you can see, you can spot a genuine Corsa without having to check the frame number. And equally that's important because Ducati's records were quite questionable, we'll say. And I've seen a bike before which is clearly a Corsa, but Ducati had the frame number down as a Strada. And so there are, there are always anomalies on things like that. Equally, it's quite important on these later bikes like this 91, it's got a dot stamped frame number as opposed to one that's been put in with old style punches. And so that's always something that's quite important to look at when you're looking at frame numbers on these race bikes, because they should be stamped in the same way as a road bike with the little dot punch and not with a straightforward stamp. So hope you found that interesting, and we'll have an update soon. Okay.